Greetings. Today, let's talk about the power of the conscious and the subconscious mind and why this affects absolutely everything in your life, especially when you're trying to change your life for the better. And those that are on retention, those that are trying to make a significant change in their lives, right? A lot of times we're given information that leads us astray because the people that are advising us don't actually understand these principles. As a coach and an NLP practitioner, I thought, why not give you guys the real about the power of the conscious and subconscious mind? Before I get into that, make sure that you guys you comment, and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel so more people can get information on topics like this. So before we get into the power of the conscious and subconscious mind, let's discuss what it is. So let's start with the conscious mind. The conscious mind is only 10% of your mind. You are never going to be aware 100% of 100% of your thoughts, right? A lot of the thoughts that you are having are going to go under the surface. Your conscious mind are the thoughts that you are aware of. When you're actively thinking about something, you're using your conscious mind. Your subconscious mind is everything else. It's actually about 90% of your mind. Now, the difference between your conscious and subconscious mind, right, is two very specific things. First, you are not born with a conscious mind. You develop a conscious mind over time. Around 7 years old, it would say that you have then developed your conscious mind. It's like your individuality, a bit like your ego almost, right? That's the conscious mind. And ego is not a bad thing, by the way. Without your ego, right, you would just feel like you're one with absolutely everything that is around you. So your ego and your conscious mind are critical, right, for you to be able to build a life that is good for you. It's just about making sure that the thoughts that you are having are taking you towards that goal. Now, your subconscious mind, you are born with, and it is always active. Your subconscious mind never turns up. Your subconscious mind at all times is picking up all of the information that is around you, that conversation that is being had, that when you're walking down the street, the how your body is even feeling, like the signals that's going on, right? That will be between your some might call it your sub and unconscious mind as well. That is 90% of what is going on. Now, the power of this, right, when you recognize these two minds, is you recognize the majority of the things that you do not come from your conscious awareness. For example, you do not control, right, the pace of your heartbeat. You can through breath work, through meditation, but typically you have a lot of things that are going on which are just subconscious. They happen automatically. And this is because it takes a lot of energy to do conscious thought. So the brain is very efficient, right? So now let's say you want to change your life, and 90% of who you are is subconscious. It happens automatically, but you have a conscious thought, right, that you want to change. You want to start retention. You want to start a business. You want to change a habit that you've been doing for a long time, right? Great, you make that conscious decision. Then the war happens. The war is happening inside of you because now you've put out this conscious thought, and let's say the conscious thought is like clean water, right? It's clean, it's the idea has come to you from God or a good idea that you've seen. It makes sense logically, right? Now the battle happens because there's a lot of, let's say, sediment, right, is in the subconscious mind, right? So some of it is clean water. You have good habits and you have good thoughts that are just a part of who you are. You might be a naturally grateful person. You might be a naturally generous person. But there's also going to be all of this sediment that might not even come from you. It could be that you've been around negative people and they've said negative things. It could be growing up. Your parents have said certain things to you, right? And all of this is just in the subconscious, right? Sitting there at the bottom. And then you say, great, I'm going to change my life for the better, right? Which means you're going to start a new habit because it has to become a lifestyle. Otherwise, you're going to start and stop. Let's think about retention. You do a week, right? And then you relapse. A lot of this stuff, relapsing, blue balls, wet dreams, all of this comes from the sub/unconscious mind, right? And so you start this new journey and then you're putting in one drop, for example, of clean water, right? And things start to happen. It starts to shake that water, right? And if anybody, if you have a lot of sediment, right, in a glass of water, the top bit will seem clean, right? But the moment you shake that water bottle, all of the sediment is then going to be in that. That's what you call a trigger, right? That's when, if you could be naturally quite a calm person, but someone says something, right, that hits a nerve, right? And then all of a sudden, all of these emotions come up. What's happening is your subconscious, right, which you can equate your subconscious to your emotions, right? Because it's just thoughts. Emotions are literally thoughts. As they distill, they start to release chemicals in your brain, right? Which then creates that emotion. So again, all of it is coming from your subconscious mind. Someone says something to you, all of a sudden you've shaken that, and then that calm, controlled demeanor that you have starts to change because there's sediment, right? Which may not be you. It could be something that you've picked up from your parents, right? Picked up from friends, your environment, right? And so that's getting shaken up. The same thing on retention. You reach that week, all of a sudden there's pressure, there's feelings, there's fire in you, there's an amount of energy that you might not be used to, and then that water is shaken, right? And then all of that then comes to the surface. A lot of times what happens, right, and what people are advised, right, is to ignore it and just try to push through. Use your conscious mind to push through. Now, I'm not saying that you should just go to relapse. No, what I'm saying is that when that is being shaken, those thoughts will become more aware. You have the opportunity, right, to see why you are doing the thing that you're doing. So I'll give you a personal example for myself. I've started this YouTube channel, right? I've built a group, and this is great. This is really good, right, for me. Now, there are times when I spoke about, as a child growing up, I spoke about, I want to, teach the laws of spirit. I want to help men be better. These were little dreams that I had as a kid. And I've now decided to follow that no matter what. But when it starts to happen, right, and this is a good feeling that I'm having, but it still shakes up that my subconscious, then, right, the things that were said to me then come to the surface. Now, I have two options. I can either completely just ignore that and say, I'm going to push through just with my conscious mind, right, which might last for a time, but eventually I will fail. So what you then do is you recognize that thought, right, that came to you, right, and was given to you by someone else or even by yourself. You recognize it, and then you use your conscious mind, right, to have that conversation and say, this is not true, right? And what you're doing is that you're pouring more clean water into the subconscious, and you're taking out the sediment, right? Because no matter what you do, right, if there is the sediment and the dirt is stuck to the bottom of the bottle, right, and you don't take that out, it's still going to be dirty water. And if someone gave you dirty water, you're not going to drink it, right? And so just trying to use your conscious mind and say, yeah, I'm just going to use my conscious mind, but the bottle at the bottom is sometimes it's sediment, it's thick. You can't even just pour the water on it. You have to physically, filter it and take out the sediment. If you don't do that, the change is impossible in the long term because you haven't been, as the Bible says it, and even Buddha says this, right? You haven't been born again of the water. Does that make sense? You haven't renewed your mind, right? You've just tried to cover it up with a new thought rather than taking out the bad thoughts, right? And so when you're trying to change your life and then you're getting triggered, you're feeling these sort of things, you're doing self-destructive behaviors, right? What that is showing is that the amount of energy that you're holding is bringing up certain thoughts. For you to get to the next level, truly, for your vibration to change, you have to take that thought out, right? Because everything takes energy. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So that thought in you, in your subconscious, takes up space and energy in your mind and your body, right? And it will come up without you knowing whenever, right, you do something that might be leading you towards a different life. It could be the thought that you're not good enough. It could be the thought that as a man, you must be like this, right? It could be the thought that this is the type of woman that all men should have, right? It could be the thought that you need to have a steady and stable job. And a lot of the times, these thoughts that are given to us were given to us by people that genuinely loved us, genuinely wanted the best for us, but didn't know any better. And so what you are doing when you are making that change using your conscious mind, and your consciousness is connected to God, right? It's new energy, new light that's coming into your life, is that you are trying to have that consciousness of God put inside of your body. Write thy words on my heart, Lord, right? This is what's happening. The heart is the subconscious. But what you have to do is you have to take out the crap out of the subconscious whilst you're still putting in the good thoughts, right? The good actions. Now, this process takes time. It will never be instant, right? Now, there are ways for you to quicken the process as well, right? But it will always take time and effort. And eventually, what starts to happen, right, is when you've taken out that thought and you've put good things into your subconscious, then your subconscious supports who you want to be. Right? So you see this with people, and that's what your aura is, right? And so people talk about like your aura, your vibration, all of these things. What they're basically saying, right, is that your body, your subconscious mind, which dictates 90% of what it is that you do, subtle things in your ANS, right? The way that you hold yourself, the tone of voice that you use, your ability to look into people's eyes, right? The glow that we all have, right? This is from the conscious mind, and you taking out the sediment, putting in good thoughts that rather than your body being drained of energy, these thoughts are now improving your energy. It's when you wake up in the morning and you can't imagine not working out. You can't imagine not doing your meditation, right? The things that you need to do to create that person happens almost automatically at that moment in time, right? Just as your bad habits before happened automatically. You've dealt with them by dealing with the sediment and the negativity and the traumas that are in your subconscious mind, right? And this is the power of the conscious and the subconscious mind. You will never be able to will yourself into a new life if you don't deal with the sediment in your subconscious mind. All that's going to do is just going to leave you very drained, right? Because you have to do that. That's the work. That's the shadow work. That's the work that no one else can truly do for you. People can help you. People can guide you, right? For example, I'm a coach and an NLP practitioner. I'm a trauma-informed coach. I can help someone identify, the thoughts that are coming up, the feelings that are coming up, right? And I can identify that for them. I could even give them different frameworks and mindset shifts, right? For them to be able to change their lives for the better. But if they then don't come out of those sessions, right, and for, let's say, the 7 days between session to session, they don't do the work, it doesn't matter what we do in those sessions, right? Because the kingdom of heaven is within you. And that kingdom of heaven is, in my opinion, is when you have put so much good stuff, into your subconscious. You've taken out so much dirt, you've put so much good things, is that on a subconscious level, you just do what's right for you. Subconsciously, you're out in the sunlight. Subconsciously, you're doing walks. Subconsciously, you're taking deep breaths. Subconsciously, you're doing all of the things that you said you want to do to create the life that you want to do, and it's automatic. But that will only come through programming your subconscious mind, right? Outside of that, it's just going to be a struggle, always. Consciously trying to push through. You need to make it automatic, right? And this is when it becomes habit. The way that you think, the way that you speak, the way that you act is always bringing you towards the light, right? Towards what is good for you as well, because it is a personal thing. No one else can tell you exactly what you need to do with your life, because what you are picking up, the frequencies that you're picking up, right, from your consciousness, your conscious awareness, these thoughts, these ideas, that will be individual to you. So guys, if this is something that you want to do, you want to learn how to really tap into your subconscious mind, how to bring out your traumas, I am a trauma-informed coach and an NLP practitioner. I do a free consultation call, right? And please book it. Let's see if we can give you some form of plan for you to be able to move forward with purpose, passion, and power. But last and not least, always remember, guys, that you are perfect by design. Peace.